What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, and it is my pleasure to speak to boxing promoter, manager extraordinaire, Dmitry Salita. How you doing today, Dmitry?
I'm doing great. Nice to connect with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've actually, we've spoken here or there, as always, like indirectly. I know we were, there was a fight in Puerto Rico. One of your fighters, Matthias, was there. He was fighting. And so I was on one of the conferences there. We spoke, and we spoke obviously about Claressa before. So now, though, today we're talking about you having just signed Franchon Crews-Dezurn to a multi-fight deal. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe some of the details that weren't shared with the actual announcement.
I'm a big fan. Have been a big fan of Franchon Cruz for a long time. She most of the time shows up to Clarissa's fights, supports her, even though they're fierce competitors inside the ring. They have a friendship outside the ring. She was trained and helped by Sugar Hill Stewart, another person that I'm very close with, for a fight with Savannah Marshall. Because from what I understand, that training camp wasn't what she wanted to be. So Sugar stepped in last minute to help her, and she put on a great performance. Many thought she won, but she lost a split decision in Savannah Marshall's hometown. Franchon Cruz is a true American champion, great amateur, great professional, great personality, unapologetic in the most positive way. And I'm very grateful for this relationship and look forward to great things for Franchon Cruz.
For sure. And a lot of people may not know this, is that Franchon fought Claressa in her pro debut. So this is something they're very, very familiar with each other, obviously, right? How much does she ever like discuss that experience and what that was like? I've actually spoken to Franchon myself. We haven't really talked in depth about that, but I'm wondering, has that, what the connection is there in terms of that first fight?
Well, her and I did not speak about it at length, but I know her coach, Barry, for a long time since I was an amateur. I
Hmm.
fought in DC, saw each other at national tournaments. So she comes from a real respected school of boxing. She went through the grind, grew up in DC, which is one of the best boxing schools, educations in the world for boxing.
Hmm.
And it goes to show you what kind of fighter she is, what kind of fighter Clarissa is. Both of them incredible amateurs. To make a pro debut against one another tells you that these champions, these ladies want to fight the best and want to be the best.
Hmm.
And Franchon lost a spirited competitive decision. Very exciting fight. It was on the undercard of Andrew Ward versus uh, Sergey Kovalev, I believe, their second fight.
Hmm.
And led to Clarissa and I working together. After that, we was our first fight together. So Franchon is a great champion. The women's boxing is at an all-time high. Still not where it should be, still not where it could be, but it is kind of climbing up the ranks and is much better off each year. And very excited to be associated with some of the best women in the game: Claressa Shields, Franchon Cruz, Caroline Vieira, Ashton Lozado, Samantha Warrington, and we're working on signing some other top talent.
Yeah, honestly, man, I really, that's something. Well, two things about what you just said. It's great to see you really investing in women's boxing. We see it happening in different weight classes, but what I'm noticing with you is that you're a lot of the women that you're signing are in some of the weight classes above 147, which is where I think it's crazy how things get segmented. But the ladies that are in the weight classes above 147, they're getting even less attention unless it's Claressa's fighting. So it's good to see you doing that. And you mentioned that card. Man, I don't know if people realize that card was crazy stacked. Like that card might have had like three future Hall of Famers on it. Like you said, Ward Kovalev was on that card. Uh, Alexander Gvozdyk against Isaac Chalimba was on that card. Maurice
Um,
Hooker was on that card. Curtis Stevens was on that card. Bakram Murtsaliev was on that card. Like that card had some crazy like future champions, former champions. How often do you see that kind of go on where you look back on a card and was like, man,
So Curtis Stevens is the guy that I grew up with in Starrow City Boxing Club.
yeah,
Um, a name that's very close. I just spoke to Curtis a week ago, less than a week
awesome.
ago. But it's boxing. That was one of the last big HBO pay-per-views, I believe.
Hmm.
And what a great era
Hmm.
HBO boxing was. Good to see Jim Lampley come back on the mic
Yes.
with on the um May 2nd event.
Hmm.
Yeah, those were incredible cards, and this is, I got inspired by those events as a young kid, coming home and watching HBO and Showtime boxing, but really HBO.
Hmm.
And yeah, those were incredible fights, incredible cards, and you know, talking about the growth of women's boxing. You mentioned some of the fighters that we work with, and our commitment to women's boxing has been for a significant amount of time.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I promoted Alicia Ashley, who became WBC world champion in Brooklyn, New York. I worked with uh, many women fighters before kind of not discovering, but aligning with the goal of Claressa Shields.
Hmm.
And during COVID, as an example, a few broadcasters were doing boxing, and none of them wanted to put up women. So we had to do an all women's pay-per-view for Claressa to stay busy, and for some of the other great champions to showcase their skills and stay active. And
Hmm.
we did that fight in the bubble in Flint, Michigan. So some great fighters, not doing that show without getting options, without signing fighters to promotion agreement, because that was a time when we as a boxing community had to come together and help one another. And I was happy that we were able to accomplish it together with Claressa to put on that great event. It was in March in Flint during COVID.
Yeah.
So our commitment to women's boxing uh, goes beyond uh, just talking about it, but we put our mouth where I put our money where my mouth is, and look forward to developing other great champions and giving the ones that are there today the best shot at making a name for themselves and getting the biggest fights and the biggest paydays.
Yeah. Now, obviously, with you now having Claressa and Franchon, that obviously there's a thought about maybe them, getting back in the ring together. I know that's not going to be Franchon's first fight with you, but talk about, is that the path that we're moving towards? Well, ultimately, she fights Claressa in a rematch.
It could be the path. I mean, uh, Franchon Cruz beat Shadeja Green, who was a highly sought after MVP prospect champion.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe from what I heard, she's gonna fight on the Madison Square Garden card in July.
Yes.
So, and Shadeja, very good fighter, very respectable.
Hmm.
Probably, I would say, outside of Amanda Serrano, maybe the most kind of hype fighter
Hmm.
uh, from MVP.
Hmm.
And just goes to show you, and Franchon beat her, right? So just goes to show you how good she is and how much skill uh, and desire she has. She lost to Claressa Shields. There's no shame to losing to the best. And
Hmm.
she lost a very close, controversial decision to Savannah Marshall. Man, some thought she won. It was close. It was in England. So could have gone either way. So a rematch with Savannah Marshall is on the table. Certainly a rematch with Claressa Shields could be on the table. And we just want to get French on busy, active, getting the exposure that she needs to kind of give herself the opportunity to fight the biggest and the best fights. And certainly Claressa Shields is one of those possibilities for sure.
Yeah. Is there are so how you mentioned MVP, and obviously they're the other promotion that's kind of really actually moving around and getting some things done in regards to working with women's boxing on a wide scale, like openly signing a lot of top female fighters. How are your working relationships with them in terms of, like, if you had to promote something with them? How is that? How?
So, throughout my time in the business, I work with everybody. We
Hmm.
want to make the biggest and the best fights. We don't hold any grudges uh, or take anything personally. We want to make the biggest and the best fights, and we've shown that we work with everyone. Actually, believe it was last year, we did a fight with PBC, with Top Rank, with Matchroom, all within a matter of like 8 months.
Hmm.
So no problem working with MVP. One thing that they have going for them is Jake Paul, and he's obviously a big name and a big celebrity and draws a lot of interest. And there is a sensationalism component to it. Sensationalism component to the fact that he's involved with women's boxing. Uh, in a large scale, as you mentioned. And I, as a boxing guy, would look forward to seeing them build a foundation and progress as champions and helping take women's boxing and the sport of boxing to new heights. So I support everyone that does boxing responsibly, and I wish them all the best for sure.
Do you think there's a possibility that you guys could do a kind of mega women's boxing card together, where we see Amanda Serrano, obviously Katie Taylor from Matchroom has worked with them, Shadaza Green, Claressa, Franchon, all of them, Alicia Baumgardner, all of them on the same card? Do you think that's realistic, something that could happen within the next year?
Sure, it's something that we're open to. Another big fight for Franchon Crews is a rematch with Shadaza Green, so that certainly could be interested between two Americans. Like I said, we're open to work with everybody, but things have to be obviously correct and fair
Mm-hmm.
for the fighters that we represent. And sure, we're definitely open to all opportunities. Nothing has ever been presented. I saw a couple of interviews recently with Nakisa and Amanda. I'm not sure how to interpret them, but it doesn't even matter. We want to make the biggest and the best fights. And we want to give our fighters the opportunity to fight the best. And besides Claressa, we have other fighters, like I said, Franchon Crews, Caroline Vieira, um, some of the weight classes that they have champions and contenders in. Ashley Lazada, absolutely incredible prospect from Puerto Rico. Samantha Warrington is actually the WBA #1 contender to Katie Taylor at junior welterweight. I guess the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano winner. So we'd love to make all those fights. I'm a boxing guy, and I believe in building fighters correctly, progressively, stage by stage, brick by brick, if you would.
Yeah.
And I believe in talking about women's boxing now, I believe in our talent stable is the best in the sport. And, there have been a lot of 5 versus 5, 4 versus 4, 3 versus 3. So certainly open to explore that possibility in a fair, competitive way to raise the sport of boxing to the next level.
Yeah, yes, for sure. So I got to ask you this question too. You had I know you were in you had in an agreement, or I believe he was fighting for you. It was an American heavyweight, Franklin, and I remember I had spoken to him a little while back. Do you have an update on where he is or what's going on with his career?
Jermaine is a very talented fighter, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I spoke to you when after his fight with Dillian White or right before his fight with Anthony Joshua, and I'm very
It was right before the Joshua fight.
The Joshua fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful that we were able to leverage and get him those big opportunities. I think if I would Dillian White, he won, even though he didn't get the decision.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of got the benefit of winning because we were able to secure the Anthony Joshua fight right there and after. And it's a fight that he fared very well in, and I believe learned a lot from. And he's had 2 wins since then.
Mm-hmm.
So Jermaine wants to fight the biggest and the best fights, and it's been, I guess, because of those performances, some of the better heavyweights, don't want to fight with him. But
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we're working on, and if the big fights don't come to fruition, our goal is always to keep our fighters busy and active, and to kind of look for those opportunities as they come along.
Would you guys entertain, because I know Deontay is coming back and he's got to fight, would you guys entertain being like the next guy after Deontay's comeback fight, assuming he wins that fight, which I would say most people expect him to win. Would you entertain being that next opponent?
That's a great idea. We actually talked about Jermaine fighting Deontay Wilder uh, shortly after the fight with Anthony Joshua. After he had that win in Detroit, it was something that was discussed. And yeah, I think that Jermaine is on the way up. Deontay looks like he's on the way down. Although I think Deontay is a very good fighter, and he has Malik Scott in his corner. He's always, I believe, great fighters, great champions like that always have one more in them. So you never know when he's going to kind of come back alive, and I think that he may be able to do that. And with that being said, Jermaine is a hungry, tough, skilled heavyweight who wants to make it to the top. And that's really thing with Deontay Wilder makes a lot of sense. The fight between a kind of a young contender against an older champion, and that's kind of boxing has been written that way for a long time, and we'd love to make that happen for sure.
Yeah, it seems like a really a logical fight for him at this stage of his career. If it could be swung, if he gets that scalp, he probably secures him in another big payday after that, which is, obviously a great thing. And so it would be, it's just something that kind of popped in my head. I think about those kinds of fights and what makes sense at certain times of a guy's career. So,
there are not a lot of good American heavyweights out there today.
Right.
You have Jarrell Miller, you have Jermaine Franklin, Brandon Moore. Although in his last win against Skylar Lacey, it wasn't kind of the best looking fight because both guys were big and had kind of awkward styles. But I believe that Brandon is a very athletic, good American heavyweight, USBA champion, and is going to fit nicely in there with some of the bigger names in the division. Bryce Taylor, a young heavyweight that we have from Brooklyn, New York, very talented, skilled, scored 3 straight knockouts since he signed with us. That's why I was in Puerto Rico. Another guy to keep an eye on. He's 7-0, I believe, with 5 knockouts.
Yeah.
So heavyweight boxing in a way drives the sport, and American heavyweights drive the sport, and we certainly want to see the heavyweight title come back to America and to New York City would be even better.
Yeah. I think if you, it would be a really good spot for you, Dmitry, if you are powering women's boxing and the resurgence of American heavyweight boxing. That's a beautiful place to be.
That's a great place to be.
That's a good place. That's a good.
From your mouth to the gates of heaven.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Dmitry, that's all I got for you. Did you have something else that you wanted to kind of make sure people are aware of?
We're going to make some big announcements in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Excited about the state of boxing. Excited about where we're at. I look forward to making some great fights for the fans and for the fighters we represent. And thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for your time.